The S197 Mustang was pretty obviously a winner for Ford. When these cars got released in 2005, everybody wanted one. It was a fast, reliable sports car that looked good and sounded better. It's been a decade now since they stopped building the S197. So today we're going to decide if the 2005 to 2014 Ford Mustang is still worth buying. When these cars came out in 2005, they cost just under $20,000 for the base model, up to $31 grand for a GT Premium. Today there's a big gap in prices for used S197s. The trim, year model, engine, and mileage will all play a role in the value. They made these cars for a long time and they had a lot of different options. But these days you can expect to pay around $6 grand for an older V6 or closer to $10 grand for an older V8. A low mileage S197 can still get over 50 grand with the right options. All the engines are good, but you're going to want to try to avoid the automatic transmissions in the earlier models because they tend to develop problems. The Mustang is the original pony car and it offers a lot to different people. You've got the hardcore V8s for the muscle car fans, and you've got more reasonable V6s for those that just want a fun daily driver. The biggest competitors to the Mustang are the Chevy Camaro and the Dodge Challenger. When the S197 came out, neither of those cars existed anymore. They returned after seeing Ford's success with the Mustang. This is a good time car. No matter who you are, the Mustang's job is to make driving fun. Between 2005 and 2009, the Mustang pretty much stayed the same. You had three engine options. The base model 4-liter V6 pushed 212 horsepower and 240 pound-feet of torque. The V6 is pretty impressive for what it is. It's loud and sporty and actually kind of quick. Then there's the 4.6-liter V8 found in the GT models. This one made about 300 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. The 4.6 feels like a true muscle car and will throw you back in your seat and burn your tires off. In 2007, Ford released the GT500 model. This one had a 5.4-liter supercharged V8, delivering 500 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque. The boosted 5.4 is a loud, brutal powerhouse and very fast with a 0 to 60 time under 5 seconds. In 2010, the Mustang's body and interior were upgraded, but the engine options stayed the same. In 2011, the Mustang got new engine options to keep up with the new muscle cars. The new V6 was a 3.7-liter with dual overhead cams. It produced over 300 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. The new V8 was the 32-valve 5-liter Coyote. This is an amazing engine, producing over 400 horsepower and nearly as much torque. This one is a gem and is a big step up from the earlier V8s. The GT500 replaced the iron block engine for an aluminum 5.4-liter V8. It still had the supercharger and now made 662 horsepower. It could go 200 miles an hour and had a 0 to 60 time of 3 seconds. Each engine has the option of an automatic or manual transmission, and you really can't go wrong with any of these engines. The 2011 and up are quite a bit faster than the older models, but even a 2005 V6 acts like a sports car. They didn't cheap out with the base model. Personally, I think the S197 looks better than the newer S550. I'm probably a little biased because I had one and my girlfriend had one, but I don't care. It's one of my favorite Mustangs and I think it looks more muscly than the newer ones. You can get either a coupe or a ragtop convertible. I rarely want the convertible option in most cars, but as far as Mustangs go, I love being able to put the top down. These are fun cars for road trips. They have 4 seats, but the rears are just barely usable. The S197 was about 188 inches long, 74 inches wide, and 55 inches tall. It weighed in at 3,400 pounds for the lightest models, up to a little over 4,000 pounds for the heaviest. It weighs kind of a lot for a performance car, but as far as modern muscle cars go, it's pretty dang light. The S197 has a McPherson strut suspension setup in the front with an independent multi-link setup in the back. The S197 had some issues keeping traction. This is because it had a solid rear axle. The power from the engine hits the wheels instantly, so it's very easy to break grip, which is a lot of fun. But if you're someone that's considering your first muscle car, just know that it acts a little different than a regular vehicle, especially with a stick shift. Make sure you learn how to handle your car if you're going to push it. The brakes are good and vary between the year models and trims. From the base V6 to the top V8, all the braking systems seem to be fit for what's expected of the car. Higher performance trims will have stiffer, beefed up suspensions, while the V6 is tuned a little softer from the factory. The newer Mustangs feel a lot more refined than the S197. They simply have more technology than this one. That's part of why the aging S197 is so fun. It's not as powerful as the newer models, but it feels like a true hardcore pony car, especially with the manual transmission. The solid rear axle allows the car to break traction on a whim. The V8 is always screaming, and when you let off the gas, it rumbles and pops. Unlike a lot of performance cars, the base model Mustangs don't suck. The V6 is torquey and fun, and it will still beat the hell out of most of your friends' Japanese cars. It doesn't have the raw horsepower of the V8. Regardless, it acts like a Mustang. You can still break the tires loose, and it's rowdy around the corners. The S197 GT is not as refined as the new ones, and that is okay. This one is a savage, bare bones pony car, and I like that. Inside the S197, you'll find a pretty cool retro interior. The dashboard looks like the Mustangs of the 60s, and the overall design is leagues ahead of most of the boring interiors of the 2000s. It doesn't have all the technology that you might be used to in newer vehicles. The information system is simple, and we replaced the ugly old radio in Olivia's with a newer touchscreen. Some of them have interior lights that you can change to whatever color you want, which I thought was pretty cool. It's a nice interior, and it really isn't of the highest quality in the world, but the looks more than make up for that in my opinion. The gas mileage for the early V6 is pretty decent, with the later V6 actually being pretty efficient. As far as the V8s go, the fuel economy for all of them is crap, and the factory numbers are lies. I guess you could hit them if you were driving super slow, but if you're driving a Mustang GT, you're probably not going to go super slow. You usually want to try and stay away from automatic transmissions from Ford, but other than that, these cars are pretty reliable. The engines are pretty solid, but eventually, like most American cars, you're going to have to replace things like pumps and plastic parts. Oh, one thing I just remembered, in my 2010 GT, you could put regular or premium gas in it and the computer would just adjust, which was pretty cool. If you put the better gas in it, you'd instantly gain more horsepower. So, is the S197 Mustang still worth buying? Well, that depends on who you are. If you're someone who needs a lot of space for kids or work, the Mustang's probably not gonna cut it. If you're literally anybody else, yes, the S197 Mustang is worth buying. The fast models are insanely fun and wickedly powerful. Even the older, smaller V8 had plenty of power for doing muscle car stuff.
Get a V8! Get a V8! Racer! 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 Racer!
If you don't want a screaming V8, the V6 is very reasonable and it's a lot more fun than a regular car. There's so many different options that I think pretty much anybody's life would be better with a Mustang in it. The newer ones are a little more refined, but the S197 was a solid, capable sports car, and it is definitely still worth buying. Thank you for watching. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to us here at The Left Pedal, and I will see you next time.